open fire. We need manpower at the station for a detail. We need manpower at the station immediately for a detail. 326.
After you hear what we're going to release today, I'm going to ask for your continued support, your continued understanding, your empathy and compassion as we move forward to find out who did this, and we will. We're seeking the public's help to identify the driver of a vehicle that was parked at the old CPS DCS welfare building in the city of Delphi that was abandoned on the east side of County Road 300 North next to the Hoosier Heartland Highway between the hours of noon to 5 on February 14th, 2017. If you were parked there or know who was parked there, please contact the officers at the command post at the Delphi City Building on February 14th, 2017. On February 14th, 2017.
Right. Basically, this car was parked along the roadway sometime between the hours of noon and 5 the day the girls went missing, which was the 13th of April. We don't have much of a description other than it was a car.
Yeah.
We need to see if somebody can give us make, model, a color, if somebody noticed a license plate, even if they don't know if it was
Sure.
the numbers, if they knew it was a state, what state the plate was out of. Because sometimes, in a small county like that, somebody may drive by and they say, oh, that's not from Indiana, that's from California or Tennessee.
Yeah.
They'll notice something like that, but they may not notice the whole information. So it's that any information we can get on that car would be helpful for us.
Okay, you bet. And we're still not certain that car is associated with the crime, but it's possible because of the timing. Is that correct?
Right. And maybe the person saw something that they don't even realize they saw.
I see.
And
Yeah.
or maybe they saw the person or persons get into a vehicle and leave, or somebody picked that person up and took off. So we're not completely sure it's the suspect's vehicle, but we just want to know who that person is who was driving that vehicle, and maybe get more information from them.
Oh, excellent point. We're speaking with Sergeant Kim Riley on the live line with the Indiana State Police.
INDOT decides to demolish old social services building. Carroll County comment, November 22, 2017. The Indiana Department of Transportation, INDOT, issued a letter to David McCain, who serves as the secretary of the Deer Creek Township Board, dated November 21st, indicating the state plans to demolish the former social services building in East Delphi. The building has been discussed by several groups as possible owners since construction of the Hoosier Heartland Highway, State Road 25, began. The letter was sent to the McClelland Law Firm at 104 West Main Street in Delphi. The Township Board routinely uses the law firm office as a meeting venue. Doris McClelland is the Township Trustee. Township Board members McCain, President Joe Mayfield, and Jane Abbott, along with the trustee, have been in discussions with the land developer since mid-October to purchase the old social services building located at 6932 West, County Road 300 North, and then sell it to him for the cost to the township. However, as discussions continued, 2 of the 3 township board members, Mayfield and Abbott, wanted to fully understand how the transaction could be done legally and to ensure the township taxpayers were protected from unwanted expenses. McCain, who has been in contact with INDOT about the building for more than a year, said the decision had to be made to purchase it soon. He said INDOT indicated the deadline for a decision by the township or the city of Delphi was originally October 16th, but was then extended until November 1st. The township sent a letter to INDOT indicating it was discussing the matter before that date, but it did not state the township had voted to purchase the building. The recent letter from INDOT stated the building will be demolished. INDOT Real Estate Director Kathy J. Heiston wrote, "This letter is in response to interest expressed by Deer Creek Township to purchase the building located at 6932 West, County Road 300 North in Delphi, Indiana. Please be advised that Indiana Department of Transportation executive staff made the decision to move forward with the demolition of the social services building. Final project audit is imminent, so a decision had to be made in regards to the building. The decision to move forward with the demolition is in the best interest of the state of Indiana, as it reduces costs to taxpayers due to the federal funds that were used during the acquisition of the property. After demolition, the limited access right-of-way will not be available for disposal. It was not officially deemed surplus and is needed for maintenance of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. Thanks for your cooperation throughout this process. Respectfully, Kathy J. Heiston." However, 2 not-for-profit groups, the Wabash and Erie Canal Association and the Heartland Heritage Inc., have sent letters to township board members requesting them to pursue INDOT to not demolish the building. Dan McCain wrote on behalf of the Canal Association, "The Wabash and Erie Canal Association has for years supported this community with the development of trails and amenities that draw visitors and our Deer Creek Township residents with quality experiences. We also appreciate the support of the township through annual appropriations. Thank you. For the past several years, there has been an effort to acquire the old social services building near the new Heartland Highway in East Delphi. This concept has been supported by our board of directors and several other local organizations. Even the concept of having a place for locally sponsored activities was articulated in the township's public meeting held at our Canal Center in 2014 at the time of application for the Recreational Trails Program grant. We learned just now that the plans for acquisition have not made it through to INDOT with positive reception. Perhaps the Township Advisory Board needs to reaffirm the community's desire to promote and acquire this building. We know there is a potential developer that would take the building, renovate it, hook up the utilities, and then lease back space very reasonably for community uses. The concept of having community space in this building would be an advantage to our Monon High Bridge trail hikers, as it would provide restrooms and a place to host a welcome center. We are behind any last-minute effort to revive the issue without the township's assistance." Bonnie Maxwell wrote the following on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Heartland Heritage Inc. "The Board of Heartland Heritage Inc. has asked me to send this letter regarding the purchase of the former social services building. Because of our heavy involvement in the development of the High Bridge Trail and bridge repair and rehabilitation, our development of Bicentennial Park, the pending addition of other adjacent park areas, and many activities in this general area, we have a sincere desire to see this building saved and a portion of it devoted to a visitor center/restroom facility for everyone visiting the area. We support your efforts to acquire the building for reuse." Mayfield told the Comet Tuesday morning via email when asked if there's any movement on the Deer Creek Township's part to stop the demolition of the old social services building by INDOT, said, "Doris, Trustee McClelland, and I discussed a possible meeting date after Thanksgiving. INDOT's deadline and the complexity of the process to transfer the property brought us to this point. If INDOT is willing to change their mind and give us more time to understand the process of offering the property to another party, then further discussion becomes an option," Mayfield concluded. According to an email from INDOT's Highstand, demolition contracts are managed by the district offices. This property is located within the LaPorte district. She said she has not heard details regarding the demolition. Highstand said there are many variables and she will make the demolition information available when she receives it.
Okay, we are loaded. We're getting vehicles to take us all up there as a group. Let's drive everybody up there. I got the pickup that's going to take us up there versus bringing several vehicles. So we'll be up there in just a minute.
And I was muted. Geez, oh, Pete. Welcome to Case by Case. Notice what you didn't hear there was the Farm Bureau's building. We're going to get into that, where everybody has misconstrued Rick Allen's description of where he parked, the old Farm Bureau building. Let me bring in my co-host on these Delphi Vault episodes. Hello, Quester. How are you?
Not so bad. How are you?
I'm good, other than it's cloudy and rainy and not so pretty here.
I wish we had that.
Yeah. Why are you guys sunny and hot?
Just a bit. We got a heat wave going through us.
Well, our heat wave is coming next week, but today I woke up and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to spend the whole day online. So the interesting thing about that segment that I just played is obviously what I just pointed out, that the old CPS building was never referred to as the old Farm Bureau building. And the reason that is important on today's live, this is Dear Guilters Part 2, is because I've run into a lot of adversaries in the Delphi gossip or the Delphi drama gossip group, with a lot of people in there who spew a lot of facts about the case that are completely inaccurate. And, you know, I've made it kind of my mission, even though it's really child's play. But when you see false information, when it comes to the incarceration of a man and the death of two little girls, I have to speak up. And I feel the need to address as many comments as I possibly can, not to cause arguments, but to basically point out, hey, you know, your information is incorrect. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know, you know, what trial you followed or what case you followed, but here it is in black and white. And so we are going to do just that. So let me say hello to everybody in chat. Hello, Streets of Bakersfield. I got your message this morning. For some reason, I thought it came after midnight. And I have to go listen to your live, but kudos to you for doing it on your channel. You got to put your big girl pants on and grow that channel. Hi, Michael. Hi, Classic Overthinker, Critical Thinker. Hello, everybody who was in here before we went live. But we have a lot to jump into today, so we're just going to get right into it. And we're going to kick this off with some of the issues that I see being posted online, where other people are digesting it, and people who, you know, maybe followed, you know, the headline news or certain YouTube channels, and then take everything that's posted in some of these Facebook groups as fact. So we're going to start with a couple of these posts. These are from social media, from Facebook. So I don't feel the need to redact. Anybody who wants to go join the Delphi drama gossip group, feel free. You'll find all of these in that group. So here we go. Jason Hayes, he's an avid Rick Allen is innocent advocator. So that's his stance. And here are some of his responses to some of the posts that I've made in the group. It's a discussion group, so it's open to the public. It is inviting conversation. It's inviting discussion about the case, but it seems the title of the group should be different. It should be Richard Allen is guilty, which would be a deterrent for those of us who believe otherwise. So Jason Hayes, in response to me posting a picture of the screenshot of the BG video, where you, in my opinion, and I think I've got a lot of people who agree, can't say it's fact-based. I'm saying, oh my God, look at what we are seeing here. And based on the timeline, with the arrival of other people or the existence of other people on the trail, which the jury never got to hear, it's very important to point it out. And I'm claiming that behind Abby in the BG video, it appears that there are human beings who are behind her further back at the north end of the bridge. And we slowed the video, the BG video down. And I believe that if you focus and you watch, you can clearly see that those distant images are moving. And I'm talking legs, taking steps. So I pointed that out. I provided the video, and this was the response that I got. It's the barrier, dumbass. This was debated years not long after the murders ad nauseum. And some folks went out on the bridge to the exact same spot and took the same photo. And sure enough, there was the barrier showing. Please stop. You look like a complete amateur and it's embarrassing. Well, I asked him to produce those videos. I asked him to produce any evidence of that information that he's claiming proves that I'm full of shit. And I got nothing. So we're going to take a look at someone who did go out there and travel the trail during that time frame. And you can see for yourself where the barrier is located and the distance the barrier is from the bridge, and how you clearly, from approaching the barrier, you can't even see the bridge. So ready, set, let's go. This person is walking on the trails and they're going to approach the barrier. I'm going to skip it further along. I'm going to skip it even further along. You just get the idea that this person is traveling on the trails, what the trails look like around the time of these homicides. Uh-oh, I think we're coming up on the barrier. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Tom. Hey, Justice for Rick Allen from Scotland. Yes?
I've sent you some things on your messenger. A little present for you.
Okay. Perfect. So here is the barrier. Do you see the moat on High Bridge? Do you see the trees and the foliage on the other side of the barrier? I don't. Now, you're going to have to walk around the barrier and then continue walking to the moat on High Bridge. There's the bridge. Let's step up and go.
Minutes, 20 some seconds. And we just start going.
So it is roughly right here, or maybe even a few steps right here, that in the BG video, what you see in the foreground, well back at the north end of the bridge, it's roughly right here on the bridge where it appears there are people at the north end of the bridge. I'm not saying that these are suspects or people involved, although it raises a lot of questions based on the 5-year and 8-month investigation where we were told that this crime was committed by more than one person. So when you look at the imagery from the BG video, we absolutely can debate how many people we think are back at the north end of the bridge. But what is clear is you see bridge planks in the foreground behind those images. There is movement there, and there are witnesses who put themselves at the north end of the bridge that plausibly could be during this time. And we're going to get there, but this place right here on the bridge is where the people in the foreground of the BG video, I believe, because it appears that there could even be someone standing on the first platform. Well, we are at the first platform in this video, and whether someone's on that platform or not, I believe, it's my personal opinion, that there are at least 2 others standing on the actual moat on High Bridge. And this is not the barrier. So let's go back. Another message from, oh, hang on, sorry. I need to turn my volume off on my phone. Another message from the amazing Jason Haynes is he says basically that what I'm doing is classic dot connecting. You ABRA folks, I'm not quite sure, anyone but Richard Allen. Okay, ABRA, guys, get educated, means anybody but Richard Allen. Ignore the actual facts and details of the case. Well, that's kind of hypocritical, don't you think? You have no plausible narrative that explains how Richard Allen is innocent. You just throw random shit out there like, hey, what about this? What about that? How do you explain this? How about this guy or this guy? Or this report in another town of some sticks. So, I mean, is he talking about a report from another town about sticks? As if you've got something, and yet it's mostly irrelevant. It doesn't follow a logic of how it exonerates Rick Allen. It's just a distraction to keep everyone arguing about the irrelevant and ignoring the actual facts of the case. It's almost like they're taking a cue from the defense team, who tries this exact tactic during the trial, or tried to. This serves as a reminder of why we have rules of evidence, because a crafty defense attorney can pull a sleight of hand trick by saying, don't look at my right hand, look over here at my left hand. Well, the amazing Jason, you need to first and foremost come to grips with the fact that there will be oral arguments come September 21st. Number two, absolutely what you just described is what your dearly beloved prosecution team did. I have never seen a case where evidence and a defense team is so tightly handcuffed from being prevented to put on a defense for their client, ever. There are rules of evidence. And going forward, hopefully it'll get spelled out to you in black and white, filing by filing, that the rules of evidence were agreed upon by a defense team as far as stipulating, for example, the timestamp of the Hoosier Harvest door camera. But a lot of the evidence that was actually gathered and investigated by the state, dear Jason, was not allowed into trial based on the judge's ruling. Wasn't the defense raising this evidence, it was the state's actual investigation. And when you have a state whose narrative changes from one sketch for 2 years, it was plastered all over the country on every business window in Delphi itself, to 2 years later saying, whoops, we're going to take a change of direction. Now we're looking for this brown, poofy-haired young guy. And the first sketch is now secondary. And we're told by the originating prosecutor on this case, Robert Ives, that this case has elements of staging, trophies, and that multiple people were involved. And then by the time we get to trial, everything was simplified and we're down to one lone wolf. I call bullshit. You can stay on the Richard Allen is guilty train until it runs into a brick wall. Or you can be a realistic person and open your eyes and ears to factual information, because you've been sold a stale of goods by yours truly, Nick McClellan, Jerry Holman, and the state of Indiana. Period, point blank. Jason Hayes again. This is fucking stupid. RA is guilty. He confessed no less than 60 times. Hear that, guys? He confessed no less than 60 times. Get it through your fucking brain. Give it up. Find another case to promote on your YouTube channel. Sorry. I won't be going anywhere.
Does that guy teach debating skills?
Well, everybody should get their money back if he does.
Yeah.
So then we have old Chris Robert. Chris Robert is definitely not a Richard Allen supporter. And this is in reference to Rayleigh Voorhees. I was called a liar. I was called all kinds of fun names because I posted Rayleigh Voorhees' testimony. You know, these people don't want to fucking open a trial transcript and read it for themselves. They want to take excerpts from what they've seen on some backdoor maybe another YouTube creator channel, I don't know, or an excerpt from a media file that was reporting half truths. So I wanted to make it clear what Rayleigh Voorhees said and exactly when she said that she encountered Bridge Guy, the description that she gave, and the fact that she claimed that she saw Bridge Guy at 2:15 p.m., which is critical to this timeline. It blows up the timeline. She was asked multiple times about it being 2:15, and she even went into detail that yes, because she felt that she got home at 2:20 and girls within the group that she was with had cheer practice at 2:30. Well, if you knew where they all lived, you would understand how close to the bridge it was. So I posted it, and this is Chris Robert's comment. She was shown a photograph of BG, as we all were, and said that was who she saw. She did say she might have been swaying a bit by the police photo, but said with confidence it was still the person who she crossed paths with. Okay, so first of all, she was shown a photo of BG. Okay, well, is he under the impression that there's a different photo of the BG than the one that the police photo that she said may have persuaded her? I'm confused on that. I'm just confused what you are hoping to accomplish with this. I responded. Sorry, I didn't include my response. It was pretty winded. Then we have Peggy Gardner, who unfortunately is under the impression that the barrier was put up after the murders. Kevin Lucas here is convinced that it was the barrier in that grainy image. You know, here and here's the conundrum with these people. I'm taking video footage from the Bridge Guy video, and I'm simply slowing it down. First of all, you've got the Bridge Guy video. It completely is the exact opposite of everything that we were told it was. It wasn't scary. It wasn't the high intensity last moments of these two young girls' lives in that video. And I'm not saying that Abby and Libby, their last moments weren't high intense of horror, because it was. But the video itself doesn't depict that. But we can't trust this grainy video. But it's all we've got. It's all we've got to go on. It's the only video that we have. Yet we've been provided a grainy photo of a black car, and we're being told whose car it is.
Well, we don't even know it's black. It's just dark.
Well, there you go. And we're being told where it goes once it's out of the video frame, which that's speculation. That's jumping a couple notches into the future, because nobody has proof that that car that they showed us in that grainy screenshot ever stopped on 300 and Park. There's no way to prove that. But the bigger problem is they had actual video footage that they did not provide us. In fact, they had actually access to 4 cameras on that building. And we were never told which cameras were working, which cameras weren't. We weren't ever actually shown the video. But all of these people can be shown this grainy image of a car from the worst angle of a building, when there's other cameras that they could have used to show us, okay, here are all the cars from that day. No. We're gonna isolate it down, and we're just going to pretend, well, it's really not pretending when you have a mass amount of people who will believe anything that they're told and choose not to think further than their nose and seek out the information for themselves. Kevin Lucas, it is the barrier. Peggy Gardner, double down. Yes, it was put up after the girls were murdered. Anonymous member 906. This bold individual, anonymous member 906, says RV never said they saw him at 2:15. They were leaving the area at 1:45. And Betsy Blair's watch data proves it. Betsy Blair's watch data proves when Rayleigh Voorhees and the other 3 girls that she was with proves when they left. If you say so. Follow the trial transcripts. Amy, you are such a dumbass. God forbid you post the trial transcripts that you were clearly told to do. You're grasping at straws, sidestepping the facts provided at trial, testimony under oath, and years of arduous investigation to create a false narrative. Well, anonymous member 906, I really hope that you clicked on that PDF that I posted in your Delphi drama gossip group and you read it for yourself. Because if anybody is sidestepping the facts, it is you, my dear friend, anonymous member 906. Jason Hayes comes back in again. He can't let it go. And he has to triple down. More made up bullshit, I see. Let me guess. You're a YouTuber looking to promote your channel, peddling conspiracy theories that don't actually add up or stick with the facts. How'd you guess, Jason? At least I'm going somewhere. Here you are stuck in a cobweb of a fucking Facebook group of a case that you claim is done and over with, and you just can't seem to let go and move the fuck on. And within 30 seconds of a new post in this group, you are the first one on hand to add a comment. You are definitely scoping out, and you've got your eyes on this case tremendously. Maybe that's because you're afraid of what's coming down the pipeline. Chris Robert again. Amy Lynn, Chris Robert says, that be me. Huh. She was on the trails. He's talking about Rayleigh Voorhees. Yes, we know she was. She was on the trails bridge that day. It was proven. Pearson was not there. That was also proven. I just don't get what you're hoping to accomplish. And then coming in like a fucking cannon from the peanut gallery, here comes Toria B., who wants to reiterate Chris Robert's ignorance. She states, she's trying to accomplish looking like a fool, nothing else. Well, let's go. Quester?
Yeah, I've been watching that. Oh dear. Whenever anyone says anything, these clowns pop out the woodwork and behave like the eponymous farter in a lift. They just stink the place out and run. I begin to wonder if it's just one person who's not been taking their meds.
You know what, Chester? Here, and I really, really, truly appreciate your comment. For those who are just listening, Chester says, all these personal attacks are sad, not worth your time. You're way above these people. You're right. However, in this interim of time that we have between Rick Allen's direct appeal and oral arguments, I'm doing everything and anything that I can do to keep this case in the public's eye. And I don't expose myself and engage with these people for myself. I do it for the case. I do it for the girls, and I do it for justice for Rick. And educating people is something that the state should have been doing all along. The transparency in this case is quite clouded in lies and secrecy and gossip and rumors and false narratives. So somebody has to do it. Somebody has to come forward and say, look, guys, I respect your position that you think that Rick Allen is guilty. I just want to explain to you why I disagree and ask you to rationally focus on what evidence is actually been presented and what evidence has actually been distorted, and then make a decision. Because looking at these posts and these people who are advocate supporters of the guilty verdict in this case, clearly you can see don't know the evidence in this case. So whether it's above whether, I'm better than these attacks or not, someone's got to take the heat, and I'm willing to do it simply because I have at the touch of a keyboard facts to back up what I'm saying. And that's exactly what we're going to get into right now, starting with Miss Kathy Shanks. And we're going to get through this briefly because it's a dead beaten horse. Kathy Shanks, the fake lost tip. Everyone was, gasping, oh God, Kathy Shanks found this lost tip. And again, let me remind you that Kathy Shanks was supposed to be an OCD secretary who volunteered her time, who was calculating and documenting documents and supplementary reports and Orion tips and organizing them. And she was taking them from actual physical documents and then putting them into the computer system, giving them all a number. And she believed that the filing cabinets that she had created in the office that she worked at belonged to her. She was so protective, mama bear arms around him. And that department, I believed, moved 3 times. That office moved 3 times, if not 4, from one location to the next. And I don't know about you, but when you move, I think anybody, even if you're not OCD, you clean out some fucking drawers. And if you only have one desk that you work out for a long duration of time, you go through those drawers. So for 5 years and 8 months, she never once pulled out her left hand or her right hand drawer and came across this tip. Okay, Kathy. Okay, ISP. Okay, Jerry Holman. Rick Allen said, I don't remember if it was the next day or a couple of days, but shortly after, they were asking for anybody that was there to come in. So I went in. I got home from work and my wife said, they want to talk, because I had obviously told her that I was there. And she said they want to talk to anybody that was down there if they had any information. I don't know how much, but I obviously will go down. So I went down to the sheriff's station, and I don't remember who it was that came out and talked to me and said that he would get my name and information. Well, do you know who that was? That was good old fat boy fat Jerry Holman. First encounter. Next up, we have the actual unclassified tip. Right here, this shows you 3 people came in contact with this tip before Kathy Shank was ever brought back in as a voluntary secretary to work in the back room. You've got Dan Doolin, who did the interview, the DNR officer who met Rick Allen at the Save-A-Lot grocery store in downtown Delphi, behind the CVS, where Dan Doolin was handed unequivocally Rick Allen's phone, was given permission to go through it, take the battery out, look at the EMI number, take Rick Allen's information, only to go back to the sheriff's department, transfer the handwritten notes into a digital tip. And we know now that his transcribing skills absolutely fucking suck because he had Rick Allen's name wrong. He couldn't even get that right. The suspect that he just went and interviewed in person had his phone, took the battery out, took the EMI number, was allowed to go through his phone, got firsthand accounts from the man himself, gave the name Richard Whiteman. And from there, the handwritten notes that he took were destroyed. So convenient. And then the tip was emailed to Alexis Lucas on February 16th at 8:45 p.m. And prior to that, it was emailed to Jerry Holman on February 16th at 4:30 p.m. So.
Well, that Dan Doolin, I'm absolutely shocked that he's even there. You know his history, what he got done for. Yeah?
Yeah.
How the hell is he even wearing a uniform, let alone out on the streets? Got absolutely no kudos.
So let's move on, because that's beating a dead dumb horse, going back over the tip, because it's clear that Kathy Allen didn't just stumble upon this lost tip. It had been circulated, and unfortunately, my PowerPoint doesn't allow me to show the whole document, but I've shared it. And at the bottom, in handwritten notes, it says, cleared, suspect cleared. Mary Beth is asking you, Quester, to repeat what you just said about Dan Doolin.
I presume she didn't see the court case that he got caught committing perjury in. Perjury that put an innocent man away who committed suicide before they proved he was innocent.
Do you have the name on that case?
I'd have to look it up.
Also, as just to add more fuel to the fire here, Dan Doolin, as a DNR officer.
Here we go. Jesse Snyder. That's Jesse.
Bomb.com also had it. So, yeah, everybody's saying in chat, Jesse Snyder, the case against Jesse Snyder. We'll have to pull that up and go over that, Quester. But to add more fuel to the fire when it comes to Dan Doolin also then took it upon himself to now become the head honcho of the Carroll County Drug Task Force. And if you do a background check on the cases that he was involved in after the Delphi case, you're going to see that he made some very significant arrests of meth dealers in the area. There's a lot of cases where conveniently Dan Doolin's name pops up that you're going, why would a DNR officer be involved in this? Also, to remind everybody in chat, Dan Doolin is also the one who took it upon himself to go out and revisit the crime scene and discover that all the sticks had been left behind with blood on them, and then contacted law enforcement, which then caused the crime scene to be reenacted, reblocked off, and they went out there and collected all of the sticks that had been left behind. So, kudos to Dan Doolin. Next up, let's talk about the CPS building that everybody for years has had their panties in a bunch about, because Steve Mullins and Jerry Holman put words in Rick Allen's mouth stating that Rick Allen described parking at a building that was known as the Old Farm Bureau building. Well, I am here to tell you emphatically that the Farm Bureau building was never, ever, ever, ever located on County Road 300. In February of 2012, the Carroll County Comet reported that Indiana Farm Bureau planned to construct a new office building adjacent to its existing office on Washington Street. That means the old office was already on Washington Street before the move by 2013 to 2014. The new office at 204 North Washington Street was in use. Furthermore, here's the article. Carroll County Farm Bureau representatives Mike Beal and Sean Ashby presented plans for a new building to be constructed on a recently acquired Monroe site, adjacent to the office located on Washington Street in Delphi. It was reported that Farm Bureau plans to break ground for the new office building at the 1st of April. The site, this is important, people, the site of the current building would become a parking lot. Then it goes on to talk about the taxpayer dollars, blah, blah, blah. But just fun fact here, Board of Works member Carolyn Pearson said the city taxpayers should not be totally responsible for the new concrete. However, there could be a cost-sharing situation with Farm Bureau. She asked for the opinion of the Delphi Street Commissioner, Aaron Lyons. He said he had concerns about the entrance and exit for the parking lot in relation to the intersection of the city streets. Lyons said no formal plans had been presented, which makes it difficult for him to evaluate the situation. So again, we have another family member, a part of official county business, but we'll just skip over that for now. But whoops. So what I do want to do is I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I am going to take you straight to the Farm Bureau building in downtown Delphi. And show you how the existent building, where it sits, and its prior existence sat next door. And once the new building was built and they moved into it, the old location was turned into a parking lot. So let's go right in here to downtown Delphi. Let me make sure my screen is being shared. Okay. So here is the 204 North Washington Street Farm Bureau building. To the right of it is the brand new parking lot, which is where the original building stood. Now, take a look at where this is located. Here's Pizza King. And right here is the county courthouse. So the Farm Bureau building was an analogy, and we're going to get to it based on the interrogation videos that we have of Rick, because Rick's not the one who introduced the old Farm Bureau building. It was law enforcement. And in all actuality, Rick Allen literally blew it off. Like, well, maybe. I'm not really familiar with what the building was. However, he emphatically stated that he parked on the bridge side of the trails. So let me check really fast what Quester sent me. Let me see here. Oh, okay. this is right in sync with our conversation here. So I'll pull this in. So it is in 2012 that the Farm Bureau building, that they broke ground on. So, and here's the article about that. So we need to put to bed the idea that the old CPS building was known as the old Farm Bureau building. That's not a thing. It never was. The Farm Bureau building was not in the vicinity of the CPS building. Period. That all started with Rick Allen's interrogation videos. When law enforcement tried to drive the car that he was in and skip over what he was saying and put him in an area that they wanted him to be in. And furthermore, if you're a smart human being, I mean, Jesus Christ, we have somebody who pulled this crime off, caught on camera, videotaped, and has his voice audio recorded. Left no DNA and got out of the area unscathed, okay? Either he is the luckiest person alive or he planned this and it was smart. And if he planned this because he's smart, it took 5 years and 8 months before they arrested Rick Allen. Why would Rick Allen agree to sit down with law enforcement and tell them if he's guilty, everything that he did that day that would line up with that guilt? Or would he have not had a better alibi to give? Putting himself in the car that he actually didn't drive, putting himself in clothes that he actually didn't wear. No, Rick was bare bones. I mean, I could have wore a blue jacket or a black jacket, or I could have tennis shoes, boots. I probably had on jeans. He wasn't trying to be shiesty in his recount of what he did that day. That's what makes him even more believable to me. So let's go back to where we were. Let's see here. So now we're going to start talking about the interrogation video. And I extracted a lot of the quotes and statements that Rick Allen made during his videos or his interrogation videos. And, you know, one of the first statements that Rick makes is, so I would have been parked up on the bridge side of things, I guess is what I'm saying. So Rick then places himself near the railroad bridge parking, the old building, the trail side. After looking at the map, it would have been over in here somewhere probably. And he's pointing to the area over by the railroad bridge. He remembered the old one-lane bridge parking. There was a smaller bridge where you could park there. There were quite a few people that would park there before. Before, it was either you parked there or you parked over in the farmer's thing. We're going to get to the farmer's thing. Rick Allen never says the CPS building. He never says the Farm Bureau building, and he never says DCS. Those are interjected by law enforcement. What Rick Allen does say instead is the little building, bridge side, smaller bridge, farmer's entrance. The detective brings up the Farm Bureau report. This exchange was one of the most important. Detective says, his report referring to Dan Doolin said Farm Bureau building. Allen replies, I never really knew what that building was. I just remember telling him there was a building there. Then if that's what I told him, or that's where I told him I parked, then that's probably where I parked. The important key factor here is this tells us several things. Allen himself did not identify the building as the Farm Bureau building. He simply remembered a building. The Farm Bureau label came from law officers rather than Rick Allen's terminology. And there was a building that used to stand over next to the railroad bridge that has then since been torn down, and a monument was put in its place. And the monument depicts, it's in tribute to the building itself that used to stand there. So when you listen to Rick Allen's interrogation, whoopsie, okay. All right, let me hold on one second. 1 second. So we're going to do this in real time, guys. Or maybe not. Hang on 1 second. Okay. No, we don't have to. I have to delete a couple things in my uploads. So this image here is a depiction of the lane that Rick Allen described in detail that he parked. And here it is with the lane itself outlined. So you've got up here, not in the middle, but to the right of the center, the big yellow bubble where it says Rick parked here. That is the area that sits right next to what Rick described as the railroad bridge, that he described as the blue bridge. And that bridge was blue. It's in recent years been painted bright red, but that bridge was blue. And the yellow little hook here indicates the area, the parking area that a lot of people use. And the white line, if you follow it all the way down, this is the lane that Rick Allen describes, that he talks about. Comes down here, you access it off of Main Street. It is literally passing by City Park, which is over here on the left. It passes by where Derek German lived, and it passes by where Bree Wilbur's house was. You follow it up, it veers to the right, and along here are multiple homes. And he says there are some houses there that you pass. It's a lane, and you pull up and you park right next to the railroad bridge. Now, next up, we're going to talk about traveling from where Rick Allen parked, where Rick Allen stated he parked.
Before you move on, Amy.
Okay.
I sent you another thing about the CPS, not the CPS, about the Bureau. Yeah.
Okay. One
the
second.
One that, the one that mentions Nick McClellan knew about it.
Well, yeah, that was curious in the original video that I posted that Nick McClellan handled the proposal of the new build.
I know he knew it in another way as well. That's why I sent you that other picture.
Here, let me pull that in. And it's always odd that Nick McClellan's name comes up in all of these situations. meth dealers, business transactions, business builds. His dad was a fire arsonist. His family members are meth dealers, meth addicts, turned prosecutor without an election, makes it his first priority of business, to modify Ron Logan's sentence.
No, that wasn't the doc. There's a document. There's another one I sent you. I sent you a couple of them together.
Oh, okay. I see this one now. Okay, that's the one that I just read. It's the Carroll County comment. The Carroll County, Mike Beal and Sean Ashby presented plans for a new building.
The other one.
Send it to me again because I only have these three. I have when the old building was demolished. Oh, Nick McClelland knows of this building but chose not to correct the PCA. Okay. Oh, yes. I didn't read that part. Hold on. Yeah, let's go over that.
It's juicy.
So it's the bottom portion of this document here. When the old building, referring to the CPS building, which was never the Farm Bureau building. When the old building was demolished.
This is referring to the Farm Bureau building. The old Farm Bureau building.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the demolishing of the Farm Bureau building to build the new location right next door. When the old building was demolished, a new one was built beside the old site, and the old site was made into a parking lot, 1.5 miles from the trails. Nick McClelland knows of this building, but chose not to correct the probable cause affidavit. He represented his dad, who was done for arson, and the plaintiff was Indiana Farm Bureau. Indiana Farm Bureau is an insurance company. I think a lot of people mistake it for like something to do with farming or whatever, but the Indiana Farm Bureau is an insurance company. So the Indiana Farm Bureau went after Nick McClelland's father for arson. So absolutely, Nick McClelland would be fully aware of its location and what it was. And yet he allowed for the title of the CPS building to be misconstrued, not only publicly in the media, but also in the probable cause affidavit, allowing people to believe that this building was referred to as the Farm Bureau's building, which is what law enforcement interjected into Rick Allen's statement that Rick Allen didn't say himself. Good catch, Quester. Okay, so let's pull this one up here. Hold on one second, guys. So now we're going to talk about the route that Rick Allen would have taken based on where Rick Allen said he parked and how he would have accessed the trails. And I know a lot of people in my case-by-case Facebook group has questioned this or wanted me to go over this a little bit more in detail, and I promised that I would, so here goes. And I think that everybody that believes Rick Allen is guilty, this gives them a visual of visually what Rick Allen described in his interrogation video. So if Now, you have to kind of toggle back and forth here. From this image here, the white line, you drive up the lane, up to the yellow balloon. That's the marker that I have on Google Earth showing you where Rick Allen parked. To the right of that is the railroad bridge. Now here's a more zoomed in look at that area. The yellow line takes you up to the yellow balloon, shows you the area where Rick Allen parked. The red line is the path he would have taken from parking next to the railroad bridge and how he would have walked back then up to the trail, across the railroad bridge. At that point in time, it was a gravel path that took you over here to Freedom Bridge, cross Freedom Bridge, bend around, and you curve around and you go into the trails. Now, the other place that he could have parked is the secondary yellow balloon where you see where it says Monon High Bridge Trail. Monon High Bridge Trail, and there's the yellow balloon in the middle. That also too was a parking lot. But you didn't pass houses and drive up a lane to get to that. That is now an official parking spot next to the trails. But this one over here, where he claimed he parked, features all of the elements of the description that he described during his interrogation video. Now I'm going to pull up where law enforcement kept talking over Rick and describing to Rick where he parked. And that would be at the old CPS building, not the old Farm Bureau building, because those two things are not one and the same, as we just proved to you. This is where the state wants you to believe that Rick parked, that he parked. And it is all the way over here along the side of 300 North, parked here at the CPS building, got out and walked down along the side of this county road where all of these cars were coming past, cut in, came around, crossed over that circular area. So this route would not have taken him across Freedom Bridge, nor would it have taken him across the railroad bridge that he insisted on saying that he parked next to. That bridge is all the way over here. But this is the route. Both routes take you to the same entrance to the trailhead, but they're on complete opposite sides of the Hoosier Heartland, and one is on the bridge side and the other side is not. And there are many statements that Rick Allen made that were indicative of him parking on the bridge side, the side of the Freedom Bridge, the side of the railroad bridge. That's undeniable. Quester?
Yeah, carry on. You're doing fine. Nothing really to add.
Okay. So I have to get back to my PowerPoint here. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to point out is I think the verbiage was allowed to be convoluted during the interrogation because Rick kept referring to the farmer's entrance. Well, from there, law enforcement was able to say, oh, the Farm Bureau building, the old Farm Bureau building. Rick's like, yeah, the farm entrance. To somebody who doesn't know the difference, and is not familiar with the old CPS building, he's not knowledgeable of what all of these old empty buildings sitting around the area are. So, the old farm entrance. The Mears lot is what I believe Rick was referring to as the old farm entrance. It sits right across the street from the farm of the Mears, owned by the Mears. It's on 300. Cars did park there. And as you can see, there are tractors parked in that thinly lined wooded area next to the hay field or the farmer's field. And once you walk from the Mears lot, which Rick is calling the farm entrance, and you come to the intersection, right across from the intersection is where the bench is. When Rick describes, well, I know I didn't park there because when I was leaving, I saw cars parked there. If Rick walked to the Monon High Bridge, walked back and sat on the bench, and then was left, he had a clear eye shot of who was parked at that farm entrance. The only problem with the state's narrative and all of the guilters who were arguing that, well, how would he know what cars were parked at the farm entrance? Well, let's take that statement and break it down. I'm showing you how he would know that there were cars parked there because he admitted to being on the trails. He admitted going to the bridge. He admitted to sitting on the bench, and he admitted that's when he left. And he had a clear shot. What doesn't make sense about the guilters' argument is you're inferring to how would Rick know cars were parked at the Mears lot, as in you're trying to implicate that he parked there. Well, now whoever said that he parked there, because he made it emphatically clear that he did not. So the only way for him to know that there were cars there when he was leaving was by visually seeing those cars either while he was sitting on the bench or once he got up from the bench and passed the intersection. And another bigger fact is you can't convict him on the words of, I saw cars there when I was leaving, as if he was driving on 300 North, leaving the CPS lot in the opposite direction that the state claimed that he came. Because if you were to believe anything else the state said, the state has video. Well, they say they have video. They have a screenshot, a grainy screenshot of a black car that they want you to believe Rick was driving, that they want you to believe parked at the CPS building. But to imply that Rick was driving down 300 North, leaving the crime scene, he would have been caught on that same exact camera. Where's that footage? Quester?
The other thing is, so what if he saw cars there? How often were cars parked in the Mears lot throughout the day?
All day.
It was nearly constant. So you could say, well, he could have been standing there from any time from about 7 in the morning to midnight, and he'd have seen 2 cars. It means nothing unless you can positively identify whose 2 cars. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, one of them was Betsy Blair's. There's no evidence of that, but let's follow that one. How long was Betsy Blair's car there? Quite a few hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They could have seen that at any time. Yeah.
Betsy Blair saw no one, according to Betsy Blair, except for young bridge guy and then possibly Abby and Libby. That's it. And I think it was probably a gazillion lives ago where I did her timeline and I was able to indicatively point out 4 different areas on the trails that she should have encountered the 4-girl group.
Well, work this through. Betsy Blair is up close to the bridge and she sees Richard Allen standing on the bridge. She turns around and walks back. When she gets to this junction, Rick Allen is already sitting there, but she doesn't see him. He's got to be sitting there if he saw Betsy Blair's car. Yeah? Because he must have seen it before she left. So somehow Rick Allen left that bridge, raced past her without her seeing, sat on the bench without her seeing. Yeah?
Absolutely. And just remember that when Betsy Blair turns around from standing behind the barrier, for those of you guilters who say the barrier was installed after the murders, no, Betsy Blair testifies that she stopped at the barrier, turned around. She then walked back up the trailhead to the intersection and turned left. She would have walked right into that bench to then turn left again to go down the Mary Gerard trail. So how did she miss Rick Allen sitting on that bench? And just remember what Officer Hammond testified to and Dr. Walla. Rick Allen followed the girls. Well, Betsy Blair does not describe passing Abby and Libby and then realizing, oh, there's a man behind them. And I'm here to tell you as a woman, as a mother, if I'm familiar with this trail system and I've been out there all day and it's desolate and I'm not running across anybody, and I just came back from a bathroom break at the library, which was just as basically the same distance to get to the library as it would have been to drive home. But she chose to go to the library. She comes back. She walks to the Monon High Bridge. She sees the beautiful young bridge guy standing there on the first platform who appeared to be looking for someone or waiting for someone. And she turned around and she sees 2 young girls. She passes them. And lo and behold, she encounters another man. As a woman, as a mother, my first instinct is, okay, these 2 little girls are about to be sandwiched in between 2 men. I'm making a U-turn. That's just my nature. I'm making a fucking U-turn. Like, to make sure, like, those 2 little girls, that would be my first instinct. I've been on that trail. It's beautiful. It's vast. But the very first time I made the trip to Delphi, I made the trip by myself. Well, besides me and Breezy Lane went with me. And I remember starting to go into the trail from the trailhead out there at Freedom Bridge. And I think I took, maybe I got like, 50 to 100 feet in the trails. And I kind of stopped because I saw nobody else out there. And I was like, I really didn't know how far it was to get to the Monon High Bridge. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was really hesitant to move forward. But I did because I was like, I didn't drive all this way for nothing. My time here is limited. I want to do this. So I did. But I literally had my head on a swivel the entire time I was out there because I was by myself and my little Yorkie. But as a mother of daughters, maybe Betsy Blair, I don't know if she has a daughter or not. I don't know. But visualizing that scenario, I would have definitely immediately, the hair on my arms would have stood up like, okay, there's a guy on the bridge. this guy's following these little girls, I'm going to turn around and just, maybe my presence will deter any kind of misbehaving. That's my thought process. And it would surely, if she didn't have that mindset, her 3 loops that she claimed to have done all day that were in essence isolated because she saw nobody else until the 3rd loop, I would have thought a secondary man would have caught her eye. So that's just my take on that. So let's see. Where am I going next? So, again, I played the video. We've already watched the video. I don't know if anybody wants me to play it again, approaching the barrier. But I mean, these are still shots from that video. Oh, thank you, Mother of Dragons. Yeah, I know my hair's, I keep getting it trimmed, and the more I get it trimmed, the more it grows. So I'm going to keep getting it trimmed. Thank you. So, but the photographs here are still shots from that video. And this 4th one to the right is literally the moment that you walk around the barrier in the distance from the barrier to the bridge. And then from there, you have another 50 feet at least out to the first platform. There's absolutely no way what we see in the foreground behind Abby is the barrier, period. So now we're going to get into the Rayleigh Voorhees and the bench photo, et cetera, et cetera. Let me turn my camera off so I'm not in my own face. So let's walk through the timeline. One of the timeline issues that I think deserves a serious discussion involves the 4 teenage witnesses, the 126 bench photo, and where they actually were when they encountered the man they later described. Let's be clear to all of my fellow adversaries out there who believe that Rick Allen is guilty. Not one witness, 3 out of this 4-girl group, 2 who took the witness stand, described what Bridge Guy was wearing. They can easily succumb to, oh yeah, the guy that's in the Bridge Guy photo that law enforcement released looks like the guy I saw. But indicative of that photo is their own recollection, which is the guy was tall, he was bigger build, muscular, he was wearing black. None of it matches. None of the witnesses that took the stand describe the man that was portrayed in the BG still shot from the BG video. The evidence at trial, presented at trial, shows the bench photo was taken at 1:26 p.m. The photo itself, along with testimony, places that bench near the Mears entrance, identifiable by the green roof barn, visible in the background. That location is not the bench near the Freedom Bridge as described in the probable cause affidavit. It is approximately from Mears Lot to Freedom Bridge, an 8 to 10 minute walk. From where the state claimed Rick Allen actually parked, we see the car that they claim Rick was driving on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera at 127. That car then needs time, obviously, which is about 30 to 33 seconds of a distance to get to that location at this old CPS building and park. He didn't get whoever, if that car stopped there and parked there, it would have to pull in. Then according to the state, turn around and back into, because they know what's in this person's mind. They pulled in, turned around, backed in to conceal their license plates number, then got out of the car. But ultimately, I would have thought that he would have had to, unless he pre-packed his kill kit before he arrived, whatever items he was taking with him, he would have had to, made sure we're secure on his person before he got out of the car. And then it's at least a 5 to 6 minute walk from the CPS building down 300, up through the gate, up to the little roundabout at the Freedom Bridge entrance area into the trailhead. So the photo was taken at 1:26 p.m. The photograph, the grainy photograph they showed of this car passing is at 1:27. So if we accept the trial testimony in the photograph, we have to ask how that affects the timeline. Does it affect the timeline? Let's see. The location is correct. This is a scenario. If the location is correct, but the witness's estimate of elapsed time is off. Suppose the 4 teens correctly remembered seeing the man near the Freedom Bridge, but they underestimated how long it took them to walk there after the 1:26 bench photo. If that's true, the man they described wouldn't be near the Freedom Bridge until approximately 1:45. Based on the walking time from the Mears bench and the rest of the witness timeline, we now have a problem. Here's the problem. Bottom left-hand corner, the picture of Rayleigh Voorhees, and in the foreground is the red barn with the green roof. The only red barn in that area with a green roof is at the Mears lot. There used to be a bench on the trails before the trails were redone that I would say 30 to 40 feet from the farm. See back here. And then her trial test. And do you recall how far down the trail you were when you stopped to take a photo? I don't recall exactly how far it was. The bench with roof background of the pictures. So it was long where we
You're breaking up, Amy.
Sorry. So that would be in the section between the High Bridge and the Mears entrance. Are there homes or buildings along behind the trail in that area? Can you show the entrance again? Mears entrance indicated. High Bridge indicated. I believe it would be slightly past that entrance. So slightly past the Mears entrance is this bench that no longer exists. And I'm going to show you guys, for those of you who have never seen, hold on, just a brief visual of what the Mears lot looks like. One second. Sorry, I have to remove stuff and pull new stuff in because I have too much.
Okay. It's very likely that he did not walk out this way, okay? Just kind of put a squash on this. He did not walk out this direction. And I'll show you why. If you just murdered 2 girls, you're really not going to want to be seen. But if you have to get back to your car, you certainly aren't going to come where people are being dropped off here, where there's this road right here, and walk that direction. As you can see, this is the Hoosier Harvest Store top of their roof. You can barely see it. I'm going to show you the path he walked out.
So just remember, right in here, on February 13th, this area was stacked full of cars. This is the area that all of the family members were arriving at to look for the girls. This main road that we're looking at here, this gate, which would have been open, Muddy Bloody Guy would have had to have walked past here, walking down 300 to make it all the way back to the CPS building, walking right past all the people sitting at the Mears lot that were arriving to search for the girls.
And
So
parked on the side of the road.
And parked on the side of the road. And
Yep.
that takes me back to the opening video that I played, where Officer Kim was asking for anybody to come forward about a vehicle abandoned. Well, I believe the vehicle that was in question, that was parked on the side of the road, was the white Impala with paper plates that belonged to Shelby Hicks. And I believe it was perceived to be abandoned because they had left the trails and got in Daniel Pearson's truck. And according to her trial testimony, yes, guilters, Daniel Pearson was at the trails. Damn it. Again. Another false fact that you guys are spilling out on the internet that's not true. Daniel Pearson was at the trails. Daniel Pearson drove his own vehicle to the trails. He arrived well before Shelby Hicks arrived. He waited for her. There was a tip that was called in to report that Daniel Pearson was on the Monon High Bridge at 2 p.m. That tip came in at 2/14, February 14th, 2017, the day after. In fact, that tip came in approximately 2 hours after Daniel Pearson called law enforcement to report himself being on the trails and on the bridge. And I believe I have that report here to go over with you. So hold tight before you call me a liar on that one. So I just wanted to show that part of the Mears entrance, the farmer's entrance. Then we go into, and the problem is that this throws all, when I say Houston, we have a problem, it's because the state has Rick Allen being in all of these places at inconceivable times. And you have eyewitness accounts who do not describe Rick Allen. I don't care. Like, oh yeah, that looks like the guy because the state showed the BG video. Well, how do you describe, if you're 5'7" and you describe a man who passes you as being taller than you, muscular build, wearing all black. How, first of all, that's a far cry from a 5'4", 5'5" man, a short man. And as females, I don't know about you men, but as females, I'm 5'1", and I would prefer a partner who's much taller than me. I don't, 5'4", I'm going to see, that's going to stand out to me. Like he's damn near my height. So that's going to stand out to me. I would never pass somebody who's damn near my height and get an odd feeling or feel like he's a grumpy person or caught me off keel because of his demeanor, and I spoke and he didn't speak and he had his hands in his pocket and he was walking with the purpose. All of those details don't get followed up by an absolutely inaccurate detail like he was 5 or 6 inches taller than what he really was. Yeah, I'm 5'1". I'm short, very short. So when I say Houston, we have a problem, you have to go back and watch my timeline videos that Critical Thinker executed for me, where she went out to the trails and showed you all of these timed walks, walking with the purpose from one location to another. And then you can do the math yourself. We've done it on here, frontwards, backwards, sideways. We have gone over it all. But this is just the overview of exceptional arguments that I'm seeing in the Delphi. Like I said, it should be titled Rick Allen is Guilty Group. It is the Delphi drama gossip group where all of these people run amok and spew false facts and then accuse me of being liars, but I don't see any of them sharing any factual information. The second I try to pin them down on a detail, I'm called a dumbass or a grifter or whatever. Well, you know what? Call me whatever you want, but guess what? I've got the fucking goods and here they are, period. Now we're going to talk about Sarah Carball. Good old Sarah Carball, the infamous Muddy Bloody guy. I just extracted some of her trial testimony, just as an overview. But trust and believe, when I get off of here today, all of these PDFs I will be uploading in the gossip group. So anybody in there who wants to take the time to read for yourself the factual information and details of this case, I'm providing you the pathway to do it. Sarah testified she drove past the Mears entrance multiple times that day. Well, we only seen her car, a grainy image of her car, screenshotted from a camera screen or from a computer screen one time. I find that interesting. On her last pass, she observed a group of people at the Mears entrance. Holy shit, did she? The farmer's entrance. There was a group of people at the Mears entrance. And then she saw a man walking west on County Road 300 North. Later, investigators matched her vehicle to the Hoosier Harvest Store camera at 3:56 p.m., which she agreed was close to the 4 o'clock hour. Okay, well, that's great. But you know what that also means? That also means that the bullshit story that Dr. Walla sold to the jury and anybody who was willing to be hand-food sped bullshit about a white van and Rick Allen seeing a white van and being scared, so he killed the girls and ran away. Well, if the girls were dead by 2:32 p.m., like Nikki McClelland stated, and Rick Allen was the man that she saw at 3:56 p.m., that means that our said scaredy cat killer hung around the crime scene for 90 minutes. I mean, you guys are giving Rick Allen, with no criminal record, no history of violence, no history of child predatory infatuation history. You're giving him some pretty big balls to just march out there in the middle of broad daylight and committing a crime that was so egregious and so bold, and then walk down a county road after being frightened by a white van. I mean, geez, according to Wallet, he only intended to sexually assault them. But then he saw this white van and holy shit, he had almost a heart attack and had to dispose of the girls, but then he hung out with them for 90 minutes. I mean, you can't make it up. This is the storyline. So walking west toward Delphi, covered in mud and blood, slumped over with his hand in his pockets, according to Sarah Carball, not making any eye contact. She slowed down. This is how she got the good look of him. She slowed down because she didn't want to hit him. She was that fucking close. But Sarah waited approximately 3 weeks before contacting law enforcement. Well, let's be clear. Sarah did not contact law enforcement. Sarah was stopped by a blockade of law enforcement along 300 North. They were asking for information about the crime. And what I didn't put in here, but what you can read for yourself in her trial testimony that's on record, is that she knew the girls were missing that night because there was an Amber Alert issued. Well, that's false too, because Abby and Libby did not meet the criteria to issue an Amber Alert because law enforcement thought they were running amok around town. According to Tobe Lesenby, the girls were known to have run off before. But yet, her 3-week delay, not because there was a massive reward being offered at the time. No, not that. She waited for 3 weeks because she was terrified. She believed the person she saw was probably local. She was traumatized by the murder cases, and she kept second guessing herself. So this is an image of where reportedly she encountered Muddy Bloody, walking dead smack in to the area of the farmer's entrance where she just passed, and described a whole bunch of people out there, all in which were relatives of Libby who were there to search for her. However, we see Muddy Bloody guy nowhere. Obviously, we know that. So how did he get from point A on 300 to point B to the CPS car lot that the state claimed he parked and left the area without being seen on camera? Then let's talk about Sarah's accounts. In March 2017, Sarah testified she reported seeing a suspicious man after waiting about 3 weeks. At trial, she maintained she described mud and blood, but the first interview transcript repeatedly uses mud and does not contain the word blood. Several months later, the first formal interview that she gives, the defense established the transcript contained the word mud 11 times and blood 0 times. Sarah answered, "It's mud and blood on both." This is all from Sarah Carball's testimony. June 2017, her second interview. Sarah testified she marked mud and blood on a bridge guy photograph. She also testified that a substantial portion of this interview was missing from the recording. She later reviewed and said that omitted portion was included in the discussion of mud and blood. So basically what she's saying is that the state who recorded the interview left out the portion in which she said that she saw mud and blood. That worked in their favor, didn't it? Just to delete that portion of her interview. On March 19th, March 2019. March 2019. Yes, in March of 2019. Sarah testifies she focused primarily on blood. These are her words, guys. Good old Sarah Carbaugh's words. Sarah testified she focused primarily on blood because she believed investigators wanted that information. She explained, I focused on the blood because I felt like that was more important aspect that they were looking for, that they were wanting. Yeah. Give them what they want, right? October 2024, in her trial testimony, Sarah gave her most detailed description, mud on the jacket and sleeves, heavy mud on the lower pants, blood spatters visible on the light colored jeans. She testified the blood stood out because it was bright red against the lighter pants. So let's hold on one second.
While you're looking.
While I'm looking, Quester, go ahead.
Couple of things. Number one, she said that she went past Mears multiple times. Well, earlier she said it was 4, but let's not argue that one. So she was driving up and down that road all day. Very odd. She said she never went into Mears because every time she went past, it was full of cars. That's an interesting thing to say. And why on earth was she driving up and down the road, checking out Mears? What's so important to get into Mears that she'd drive up and down, back and forwards? I'd say she was looking for something, wouldn't you?
She was looking for something, or again, I'm going to fall back on my sword of, I believe there were numerous people out there. Numerous people were aware. They weren't quite sure what was going to go down, but they knew something was going to go down. I believe all of the people from Monticello that converged on the trail that day from the same area with all the same connections didn't just happenstance upon the Monon High Bridge on that day within minutes of those 2 little girls being abducted, who all had connections to the same family that had been tipped in numerous times as being responsible for this crime because Derek German owed them $100,000. Something stinks in Delphi, and no, I cannot emphatically sit here and tell you who actually committed this crime. But when you're talking about a nexus and you're talking about profiling an individual, Rick Allen is the most abstract suspect of them all. He has no connections to anything regarding that location, these people, the girls, other than the fact that he came forward and admitted, I took a walk on the trails that day. So did a shit ton of other people. But once Rick Allen was arrested, we were made to believe that all of those people no longer existed. They were insignificant. Daniel Pearson was on the trails at approximately 1:30. He drove. I don't know where people are getting that it was proven that Daniel Pearson was never there. That's just insanity. Daniel Pearson was there. And lo and behold, he looks exactly like the fucking Young Bridge Guy sketch that Betsy Blair provided the day after the girls were found. She contacted law enforcement the evening of the 14th. She provided the Young Bridge Guy sketch. She also provided the details that when she left the trails, the only car that she's seen parked at that abandoned building was a car that had a resemblance to a white Comet, an older model, sharp-edged version of a vehicle like her dad used to own.
Well, if he wasn't there, why did he say he saw Dave McCain on the trails?
And if he wasn't there, why would his girlfriend take the stand under oath and testify that he was there with her? And why would he contact law enforcement? Here's a humdinger for all of the guilters. Here we go. Wow, this is 4 paragraphs down. So this starting at the 5th paragraph. This is a supplemental report written by Kevin Hammond, law enforcement officer of Carroll County Sheriff's Office, who was at the crime scene. And on his way exiting the crime scene up to the cemetery, while I was at the scene, I had returned to my commission that was parked at the cemetery. While at my car, I was advised that a Daniel Pearson was requesting to speak with an officer. I contacted Mr. Pearson with my department-issued cell phone. I made contact with Mr. Pearson on his cell phone. Number, blah, 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 no longer is active, so don't even bother trying to call it. And he advised me he might have some information about the double murder case we were working. Now, I want you to put into perspective a law enforcement officer who was at the crime scene. Kevin Hammond, who was not a crime scene investigator. He wasn't one of the lead detectives on the case. So I'm assuming his role at the crime scene wasn't that big. So how quickly did Daniel Pearson scramble to come forward and try and get ahead of the story and start directing traffic around his location on the trails and time that day? I find that very interesting.
Hammond's involvement with the search you're mentioning, yeah? Well, he was at the cemetery early in the morning on the 14th. He was there with Harper.
Vicious.
And
Yes.
And it looked, he might have been there with Olahi. Is that how you pronounce it?
Say that again. You broke up a little bit.
He was probably there with Olahi at the cemetery as well. All 3 of them at the cemetery early in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And you guys who watch this channel already know that we've gone over the police scanner transcripts. And the announcement of the girls being found was much later than when they were actually found. We've been able to prove that. Mr. Pearson advised that this older gentleman was wearing blue jeans, but he remembers he was wearing a black golfer's hat or something similar. Mr. Pearson stated the odd thing he remembered about this subject is he was taking pictures with a disposable camera, and he even took a picture of them without permission. Now, this is interesting to me. because the individual that Cheyenne encountered around 2:50 p.m. on the trails as she was heading towards the Monon High Bridge, she described as having a camera that was hanging on a strap around his neck. Daniel Pearson, we know, is very tech savvy. While as a high school student, he was hired by the city of Delphi to design and create the new county website. He also created, for a school project, an actual abduction video of a girl from the Monon High Bridge. I have the video. It's in my video file on here. You can go watch it. No coincidence there. So for Daniel Pearson to confuse a digital camera or a professional camera, which we were led to believe David McCain had, based on his testimony on the stand, that the FBI took his SD card out of the camera and he never got it back. So he says that's a much different looking camera than a disposable camera. I felt that detail was interesting. Mr. Pearson was asked if he would be able to do a sketch of the person if we could provide the sketch artist. Mr. Pearson advised between himself and his girlfriend, Shelby Hicks, he thought they could provide a sketch. Arrangements were made for the sketch artist from ISP to come to Delphi and meet with Mr. Pearson and Miss Hicks. It was also determined that they would both meet with a detective and get a taped statement. Well, another convenient mishap. The early interviews are just completely deleted. And we know that Mr. Pearson himself has family members on city council and in law enforcement. And there was a large hoopla around Daniel Pearson at the onset of this case. And then all of a sudden, it all just dropped off the face of the earth. But for my dear friend, Fun Elephant, and Jason from the Delphi drama gossip group, guess what? This is a law enforcement police report that was written proving to you that Daniel Pearson himself came forward about being on the bridge. So to tell me I'm a liar and that Daniel Pearson was proven for a fact to not be on the trails, you're sadly mistaken. Once again, you're barking up the wrong tree when it comes to the timeline of this case. So we're going to go back to Sarah. We're going to jump back to Sarah Carball. Oh, no, while we're at it, let's just take a look at a local kid calling out Daniel Pearson.
Taking pictures, and this isn't being discussed, man. Again, here on Delphi case. So, again, how are these girls there at the time of the murders taking pictures, and this isn't being discussed, man? I don't know if it's because people don't want to say it or what, but I'll say it. I'll ask Mr. Lesenby himself. I mean, what is up with it? It doesn't make any sense, man. It makes no sense at all. It's contradicting statements all through this. It doesn't make sense. Where's Daniel Pearson? What, he lawyer up? He's not talking now. Where you at, Daniel? Where you at, DP? Come on out, buddy. Make a statement. No one's holding you back. No one's holding you back, DP. Get in there and make a statement.
That's the kind of stuff that was going on around Daniel Pearson back in 2017. But back to Sarah Carball, who testified that she didn't want to be shown any pictures by law enforcement because she was worried about it influencing her memory. She wanted to be accurate. She wanted to give, clear hindsight of what she recalled about the man that she passed on 300 North. So then I would like her and you guilters to explain this.
Have you seen the picture in the news? I mean, you've had to see that.
I have. I also try have, but I try really hard also not to look at it too much because I saw him afterwards and I just remember the mud.
Okay.
And I don't want to I'm trying to describe what I remember seeing.
Well, in previous situations I've been involved in, I'm sometimes hesitant about having the photo around because you couldn't tell that that's the actual person. Or then you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, you're showing a picture of somebody, but they know that's the guy. If that picture is sitting right here with us, do you think it would help you?
It might.
Because we can cheat. I do this all the time. Like if there's surveillance photos from the bank or stuff like that, we can cheat.
But
You want to bring that in?
Yeah, because
Okay.
it might help me because,
It's definitely putting it in context. So we don't have to make this hard. We can cheat.
No.
Let me go get it.
Yeah.
We can cheat. Instead of going off of your memory and you describing to me the man you saw, we're going to cheat. And we're going to comprise a rendition of a sketch based off the image. And let me be very clear. This is exactly what was done to Stephen Avery in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. A sexual assault victim, was shown a mugshot of Stephen Avery. And that mugshot was used to draw a sketch that looked exactly like the mugshot. And Steve Avery spent 18 years in prison until DNA exonerated him for the same exact thing right here. So all of her holier than thou, I don't want to see the image of the guy on the bridge. I want to give a clean version of my memory. Again, let's hear him clear. We can cheat.
You've had to see that in there.
I also try but I try really hard also not to look at it too much because I saw him afterwards and I just remember the mud.
Okay.
And I don't want to I'm trying to describe what I remember seeing.
Well, in previous situations I've been involved in, I'm sometimes hesitant about having the photo around because you couldn't tell that that's the actual person. Or then you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, you're showing a picture of somebody, but they know that's the guy. If that picture is sitting right here with us, do you think it would help you?
It might.
Because we can cheat. I do this all the time. Like if there's surveillance photos from the bank or stuff like that, we can cheat.
We can cheat. Isn't that incredible?
I do this all the time.
I do this all the time. So I wonder, let's see if he did this. Hold on one second. Find it. I don't know if I have it easily accessible or not.
How many other sketches did he help with?
Hold on, let me upload this really quick. Sorry, guys, I can only upload so much at a time, so I have to delete things because we're always overloaded on these episodes with files, so I have to go back and delete to re-upload more.
Basically, if that video had been put in court, Sarah Carbour and every single sketch would have been or should have been thrown out by a fair judge.
You would think by a fair judge. That's that right there is the key phrase, a fair judge, which is absolutely not what we had in this case. Oh. Okay. I've got room now. I can add. So if he did it in these circumstances with Sarah Carball, did he do it here as well? Daniel Pearson's statement. Many people wonder about this sketch still. I will explain it once and for all. The sketch you see below took 5 months to create and was released July 17th of 2017. Now, let me be clear, everybody. The sketch he is referring to is the same sketch that the state claimed at trial Sarah Carball was the artist of, that she articulated and helped the sketch artist create that sketch. Daniel Pearson, who we just read the police report, him and Shelby Hicks agreed to go in and sit down with the sketch artist. Here is Daniel Pearson taking credit for that sketch. So who made the sketch? The sketch was made with the input of 2 witnesses and Libby's video. The 2 witnesses are the 16-year-old girl who saw the killer on his approach near Freedom Bridge and in his disguise. Is he talking about Rayleigh Voorhees?
There were only 2 16-year-olds, Rayleigh and Bree. No, Bree was 15, wasn't she? No, 16. There were 2 16-year-olds. Yeah.
How did he know about Rayleigh's eyewitness account? What the details were?
How did he know they were 16 years old?
The other witness is me, Daniel Pearson. As you can see by the quotes below, I was close enough to see his eye color. But remember the girl I was with? She saw nothing. So we're, just kick her to the curb, because we don't want to talk about her. We don't want to interview her. You don't need to talk about anything that she knows. We're just going to forget about her. She saw nothing. So police didn't really question her. Remember Cheyenne and her friend? They said they were there too, but didn't see this guy either. Only me. So they didn't get questioned too hard either. Well, let's go back to Cheyenne's testimony. She describes a man with a camera around his neck, overweight, leaving the Monon High Bridge. Why is Daniel Pearson trying to create a man that he saw that no one else saw? That doesn't make any sense to me. And we know that Cheyenne Mills and whoever she was with, because I believe that Cheyenne from Monticello, who had connections to the Palladino family, I believe she lied as well. And I've gone over that and proved it. She was not just with one person. But we know that she used her cell phone call log to prove when she was approaching the Monon High Bridge, because she got a call at 2:50 p.m. Supposedly, according to her trial testimony, she verified that information with law enforcement. This is when she said that she encountered the man, overweight, with a camera around his neck. And then after passing him, she arrived at the Monon High Bridge, and Daniel Pearson and Shelby Hicks were already on the first platform. So that puts Shelby Hicks and Daniel Pearson on the first platform at 2:50. Now, back up. If David McCain is leaving the Monon High Bridge and he's already 3 to 4 minutes off of the bridge heading towards the Mears lot, because Cheyenne said that she encountered him approximately halfway, go visit David McCain's testimony. David McCain said he was on the Monon High Bridge for 30 minutes. You got Daniel Pearson, you got Shelby Hicks are already on the bridge at 250. I am not crazy to believe that all of these people who are converging on the bridge are the same people that we are seeing in the foreground behind Abby in the Bridge Guy video. People were there. All people who had possible ulterior motives, the McCains attempting to take control of all the land in the area, to secure it and attach it to the trail system, to make Delphi, Indiana more of an attraction town. We just watched a video about David McCain and Dan McCain trying to seek out the purchase of the CPS building and turn it into a welcome center with bathrooms for the trails. We know that Dan McCain and David McCain were after the 40 acres of land that Ron Logan owned. We know that Daniel Pearson is there on the bridge itself. And not only did he come forward to law enforcement on the 14th and throw himself on the knife and say, I was there, and immediately try to redirect the narrative as to how it could be somebody else. Yet he's the one, years before this homicide happened, he did a rendition as a school project and created a video that is now available on my channel of the same type of scenario, except we don't know what happened to the girl that he took off the bridge. Just kind of like we don't know what happened to Abby and Libby when they were taken off the bridge. He just happened to be there on that day, February 13th, 2017. So let's go back. She saw nothing, so police didn't really question her. Out of the 4 people, get this, the 4 unreliable witnesses. So who are the 4? You got Daniel Pearson. You have Shelby Hicks. You have Cheyenne Mills. And you have Shelby Duncan. There's your 4. But it appears to me that Daniel is excluded to be so I'm the only one who can help with this sketch. Well, I don't know what more there were 4 people on the bridge. Daniel Pearson makes 5. And like I showed you in Cheyenne's photographs of her feet traveling across the bridge and the picture of Shelby Duncan, Cheyenne was with at least 2 other people, not just 1. So if Daniel Pearson's not a part of that unreliable 4-girl witness group, that's 5 people on the bridge. Add David McCain, that's 6. All literally within the 30-minute window of this abduction in broad daylight on the same bridge at the same location in an area where sound travels expeditiously. So he's the only reliable person to create the sketch. There's really no need to question my alibi witness too hard. They saw nothing, plus they're scared. The only thing they're good for is my alibi. Now, why would I come forward? If I'm the killer, is it because I know? Is it because I know I passed that 16-year-old girl? Well, Daniel, that 16-year-old girl supposedly left the trails, according to law enforcement, shortly after 1:26 p.m. So where did you pass her? Where did you see her? Did you have a hood over your head and your face covered up? Were you wearing a blue jacket? Are you a tall, muscular guy? Mm-hmm. Is it because I saw McCain up on the bridge after Libby yelled? Did she? And maybe he saw me? Did I find out about the other sketch the police had? The one made with help of Brad Heath by February 17th? It could be any one or a combo of the above. Well, I'm not aware of Brad Heath creating a sketch. Where did he get that information? Brad Heath is the eyewitness to seeing the abandoned vehicle along the road on 300 North, not far from the CPS building. But I'm not aware of Brad Heath making a sketch. But I am aware that there were 8 to 9 sketches that were created. And there's a handful that we, the public, have never seen. And we don't know who made them. So could have Brad Heath made a sketch? Possibly. But these statements by Daniel Pearson right here are shocking and tell a story. He passed the 16. Go ahead.
You can add 2 times. He said he saw Dave McCain on the bridge. But Dave McCain said he was on the bridge for 30 minutes, 2:30 to 3. So he had to have seen him, between 2:30 and 3, didn't he? Which means he was standing at the north end or south end of the bridge, 2:30 to 3, by his own admission. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, and for those of you who, you guilters, who I'm sure from the Delphi group, who are lurking and not commenting, here's another fun fact. When I'm talking about who else was on the bridge that day with Daniel Pearson, this is the information that I'm talking about. These are photographs that Cheyenne herself took on the day that her and Shelby Duncan were on the bridge. There were photographs entered as exhibits at trial that have not been released. This over here is a social media post where Cheyenne is basically arguing about people questioning her about her attire. Up here in image 1, you see a pair of jeans that have a rip with stitching and some sort of a red. A lot of people were questioning, was that blood? What was it? And, she was firing back. I'm an avid, naturist. I love the nature. I love hiking. Basically, F you. But so we know this is her photo that she took. Camera angled down, walking across the bridge with someone carrying a long stick that looks like a katana sword. I've been over this 1,000 times. Number 1 in yellow is set right next to Cheyenne's boot. The number 2 is set next to the gray shoe with the black laces of the person walking beside her on the bridge. However, this photo down here at the bottom right is Shelby Duncan. This photo was brought to Cheyenne's home by law enforcement in 2023. Rick Allen had already been arrested. Rick Allen was already rotting in the Westville prison system. And they brought this photograph to Cheyenne's house, asking her if this was Cheryl Loeffler. This was discussed at trial on the stand. Read the testimony. I'm going to post it. I'm not going to go over all of it again here, but this is Shelby Duncan, verified in trial testimony by Cheyenne. Look at Shelby Duncan's shoes. So if Cheyenne is with Shelby Duncan, and Shelby Duncan has on white tennis shoes with white laces, and according to Cheyenne's testimony in all of her accounts, that her and Shelby Duncan encountered Daniel Pearson and Shelby Hicks as they entered onto the bridge and they were on the first platform. They passed them, walked all the way to the south end of the bridge, hopped off the bridge, used the restroom. Mind you, there's an absolute a double homicide being committed at that exact moment somewhere within the vicinity of where these two girls are using the bathroom. Not a sound, not a scream, nothing visual with all of the leaves off the trees, nothing. And as they make their way back to the north end of the bridge, Daniel and Shelby Hicks are gone. But wait a minute. Who's the gray pair of tennis shoes belong to with the black laces? In Cheyenne's photo. Who is that?
Also, everyone says Cheyenne had that so-called katana, didn't they? Well, Cheyenne is shoe number 1.
Correct.
That katana thing is being held by shoe number 2, obviously.
Yes.
So
who is it?
Yeah.
And if Daniel Pearson's not a part of the unreliable 4 witness group, who's the 4 witnesses then? I have a hypothesis that says the top photo is 14 planks from the last platform on the south end of the bridge. So they are roughly then in the same vicinity of where the BG video was shot. Yes. Now you guys need to go back and watch my critical timeline video or critical window. And I'll explain to you the importance of who Cheryl Loeffler is. And I'm not done yet. Me and Quest are by far done. We're going to do a Dear Guilters Part 3 because we still haven't even shown you guilters the factual evidence that Rick Allen did, in fact, see 3 girls on the trails and who those 3 girls were. And they have been spoken to, not once, but twice. We need to figure out where on the bridge this image was of Shelby Duncan, because I can't decide. I'm assuming she's heading to the north end of the bridge, and what we see behind her is the south end of the bridge. But there's also a barrier at the south end of the bridge as well. And it's roughly the same distance from the bridge as the one at the north end. And we don't see...
Amy?
Yes.
The south barrier is way back from the bridge. You wouldn't see it from that position. It's way back.
So is the one at the north end. I believe the one at the north end is... I have an image, an overhead image.
Well, I sent you a long time ago the pictures of the south one. It's probably about 3 times the distance.
You think it's that far back?
Yeah, it's a long way back.
Okay. We'll have to look at that and compare it too, because I think the one at the north end is further back as well, and it's obscured by trees. So even if the distances are different from one barrier at one end to the other, you don't see anything falsely that per, nothing in this picture of Shelby Duncan looked like there's anybody further back on the south end. And I think she's heading north, because I think those trees on her, if you're looking at the photograph, that those bare skinny trees on her left are her coming back to the north end of the bridge. So
I should think those trees could be pretty easily identified.
Yep. Yeah, we did critical thinker. We did see the barrier. That's why this time around, when we do the trip out there. Oh, by the way, we are still working on the details, working out the research trip that we're taking. This will be my fourth or fifth trip to Delphi. I can't remember. And if you guys want to support the trip, help out with the trip and make sure that it happens, I'll be just getting off of surgery, coming back from surgery at that point when I am trying to go around the time of the oral arguments. We're going to do some sort of a fundraiser for that, because when I go back this time, that's something that I absolutely want to do. I want to do measuring from the south end to the barrier, actually take out a iPhone with us and do some Apple Health data research, and get a lot more. Hopefully we get access and permission to the property without having to, worry about being held hostage by Brad Weber. So we have a lot of things in the works. So, but going forward, we are going to discuss in this discussion, we're going to get into, let me see. Did I take it off of here? I may have. Let me pull it back up. So we're going to get into the confessions and the timeline and the incidents surrounding those.
Amy,
Yes.
I just checked the video stills. I've got to check again to make sure and be 100% positive. But it would appear that tree that the girl is walking past is if you're coming from the south, it's on your right, and between platforms 3 and 4, which is approximately where the 207 picture would have been.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the picture of Abby at 207, those trees would be on Abby's right-hand side or left-hand side?
On her left. As you're looking at her, it'd be on your right. If that's the right video still.
Okay, so that means Shelby Hicks would be heading towards the north end of the bridge?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
As I say, I've got to check that for certain, but initially that's what it looks like.
Okay. So the next time we do this, we're going to get into the confessions. My last picture presentation here from the Indy Star is the notice that was put out to the media that the Indiana prison systems will pay $1.2 million to settle allegations that prison officials abused inmates by keeping them in dark cells for months. Whether that was applied to prison guards at Westfall or any other prison in Indiana, the man that you see in this photograph on your right-hand side is not somebody who was treated like a human being. He's not well. He was mentally tortured and abused. We're going to talk about his confessions, what he confessed to, what was going on psychologically with him when he confessed. We're going to talk about the 3 girls that he encountered on the bridge. We're going to talk about the 4 girls that an eyewitness called in and reported seeing down on the Heartland Highway, goofing off, playing around, and then walking towards Main Street at 1 p.m. We're going to talk about the tan Malibu that a witness told law enforcement he watched an individual come out of the woods and get in at 4:30 p.m. on a property around the corner from Ron Logan's house. This man was seen coming out of the woods. Let me say it again. I'm going to show you the track from that location down to the water's edge of Deer Creek, over to the crime scene, and how that path could have been taken to pop out of the woods exactly where the eyewitness said that they did. And if this person was seen at 4:30, what does that say about the man who was supposedly muddy and bloody at 4 p.m.? We're going to talk about the McCains.
Have you gone silent? We can't hear you, Amy. You've definitely gone, Amy. It looks like Amy's dropped out for a moment, so hopefully she'll come back in. Fill in while we wait. Okay. Well, do what we did last time. Questions, guys? Who's got a question? An interesting one. Who are the 4 girls? Now, that's a big question. There's quite a few groups of girls. The one we know, the Voorhees, that was Bree, Rayleigh Voorhees, Izzy Voorhees, and Anna Spath, who was a younger sister. And then there were a couple of other 3 girl groups as well. And we've got one that we've yet to identify that was seen crossing the road. That was a 4 girl as well.
I'm back.
You're back.
I kicked myself on accident. I closed out the wrong window. But what I was saying was that everybody that we talk about on these episodes, what we're showing you is the overabundance of information that was withheld at trial, the overabundance of information that could have been dug into to prove Rick is innocent. And I firmly believe the timeline alone, the eyewitness statements alone, where people were, what they said, the lies that they told, all of that alone. And trust me, I don't want to see anybody walk away not convicted on reasonable doubt in this case. But I am certainly not here to watch an innocent man being convicted of false evidence, false narratives. You either, you don't have to jump through mental gymnastics and do unethical maneuvers to prove a guilty man guilty. You just don't. If he's guilty, prove it. Put all your cards on the table. I've said it 1,000 times. And if you're not willing to do that, then you leave us no choice but to continue to pound on the door and pull out every single piece of information that you've tried to hide. That's all that we can do. And until oral arguments get here and we have new topics of conversation to discuss, we're just going to continue to pound the pavement. So I hope you'll join us on the journey. I hope you guys will help us keep this case in the forefront of the public eye. And that's the best that we can do. And, for all the people out there who want to call us pedophile protectors or child killer protectors, it's exactly the opposite. What the state did not do was prove to us that they have the right man, which means the real perpetrators are still walking the streets. That's why we're doing this. Give us the goods, give us the proof, give us the facts. If it leads to Rick Allen, which I do not believe that it will, and I stand, and it took me a while to get there. It took me a long time to review and come to terms with this. This is a freaking corrupted case. And I'm there. I'm absolutely there. So that's all I got for you guys today. Quester, is there anything going forward that you think that we need to add to the list of discussion?
Not at the moment, but I'm sure something will crop up. It usually does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it usually does. The ball is always rolling. So thanks everybody for being here. Enjoy your Saturday. And I don't know. Quester, do you have plans tomorrow?
Not especially.
Okay. Well, if I come up with another brainstorming idea that I want to discuss, I'll get in contact and see if you want to go live tomorrow. Can't make any promises. I don't think I will be live on Monday. I have a couple of things going on Monday. And so if I'm going to do another live, it'll be tomorrow. So Quester, I'll let you know. Or Quester, if you decide you have something that you want to discuss and you think it needs to be a Streets of Bakersfield says a members only, possibly. But if you think of something that you think that is worthy of discussing on a vault, you can tell me and we will make it happen.
Yeah, if something amazing crops up, I'll do what I always do, straight onto you.
Okay. Love you too, Mother of Dragons. Big J, love you. Streets of Bakersfield. Hearts and love to all of you. Thanks for being here. Please, before you exit, hit the like and subscribe. It just helps. You guys all know the pathways to support the channel. The channel does have bills. All of the things that we do here cost money. StreamYard is not getting any cheaper. So I appreciate all of you. Quester, I love you to death. And I will let you know, or you let me know if we're going to make an appearance tomorrow. So in the meantime, adios. Free Rick Allen. Everybody
Bye, everyone.
Go into the Delphi gossip group. You'll love it. You'll have a heyday. Bye, guys.